Peace and blessings, everybody. It's Pastor Troy Wynn, Senior, the Senior Pastor of the Freedom Church, and I'm super excited to have this conversation with you. I look back over my life and I look at some of the challenges that I've faced and overcome, and I can only thank God for the lessons that I've learned. The challenges that I've faced were not easy, were not simple. They were sometimes the darkest moments of my life. But because of God, His wisdom, His insight, and because of me being willing to do the work necessary to overcome the things that were trying to overcome me, I'm able to teach from a place of relevance, from a place of experience, also from a place of wisdom. That being said, I want to bless you today and ask you 3 questions, and I want you to answer them honestly. Here's question number 1. Do you suffer in silence? Question number 2. Do you internalize your struggles? And then here's question number 3. Do you tell everyone you're fine when you're literally drowning inside? Now, these 3 questions really resonate with me because I remember a time in my life that my answer was yes, yes, and yes to every single one of those questions. And if your answer was yes, I just want to tell you something. It doesn't have to be this way. It is not weak to acknowledge your struggles. And I know in our culture, we are often made to feel weak if we acknowledge our struggles. But listen, we aren't fooling anybody. In everyone's life, some rain must fall. There will be storms. There will be trials and tribulations. There will be obstacles that stand in our way that we simply don't understand why this is happening to me. So it's okay to acknowledge your struggles. Doesn't make you weak. I actually believe it makes you strong, because you can't overcome something until you're willing to acknowledge it. I remember when I was depressed and suicidal, I was literally drowning on the inside. I just had this conversation with a friend of mine out in California, how I remember being one of those smiling, depressed people. People didn't know I was depressed because I was smiling on the outside. They didn't know I was depressed because I didn't talk to anybody about it. I didn't share it. I actually concealed it. I covered it up. I hid it. And I realize now, looking back, it was the worst thing I could have ever done, because the more I tried to suppress it, the more it depressed me. And you imagine somebody drowning on the inside of themselves, and it was just terrible. I know now what I didn't know then. And here's what I know now, that drowning was a choice. And somebody needs to hear that today, because oftentimes when we are drowning on the inside, when we are depressed or suicidal or just not happy with our lives, we don't know that drowning is a choice, and we feel like, hey, this is the natural progression of my situation. I must drown. Nothing could be further from the truth. I've come to discover that pain is inevitable, and I think you'll agree with me. Pain is inevitable, but suffering is optional. Whew. Let me tell you something. That alone is worth $1 million. To know that suffering is optional says, okay, I don't have to suffer. That I actually have choices and decisions that I can make while I'm in pain, while I'm going through, while I'm struggling, but I don't have to suffer, because suffering is optional. Now, the scary part about it is when you don't know that suffering is optional, then suffering becomes your default. And the problem with suffering being your default is that you will suffer your entire life, and you'll never ever understand or know that there are other options and other choices. You have the ability to decide and determine how you're going to translate that pain, how you're going to transfer that pain, how you're going to allow that pain to transform you into a better individual. And I'll admit, I didn't know it then, but I know it now. I was literally choosing to suffer. And I was choosing to suffer because I was operating from a victim mindset. I remember, woe is me. Why does this have to happen to me? Life is not fair. I remember that being on a constant repeat in my mind. And I was literally living with a victim mindset. And here's the thing about living with a victim mindset, folks. You voluntarily give up all of your power. When you choose or hold on to a victim mindset, You voluntarily say, you know what? I'm going to give away all of my power. I give my power to my problems. I give my power to my circumstances. I give my power to life when life is life. And at some point, you have to know that you don't have to give your power away. Even when you feel powerless, even when you feel like you're just like a leaf just being tossed in a current, no, you still have power. The power to choose your attitude, the power to choose how you're going to respond to a situation, the power to choose how you're going to allow what you're going through to make you wiser, and then how you can leverage whatever lesson you're learning today, you can leverage it tomorrow so that you can be more successful. That's power that you have. And when you throw that power away with the victim mindset, you get tossed to and fro and you literally suffer needlessly and you literally drown on the inside when you don't have to. I remember when I was in that situation, I was kind of like a marble in an old school pinball machine, just bouncing all around the place. And to this day, I still love old school pinball machines. But the thing about that pinball machine, when I was depressed and when I was going through, I was like that ball. I was being affected by everything that bumped into me. I was being affected by every obstacle. And when something hit me, it just threw me all over the place. Does that sound familiar? Yeah, many people live their lives like that pinball inside that old school pinball machine. It doesn't have to be that way. And it wasn't until I made a conscious choice, folks, to stop being the marble and to start taking radical responsibility for my life that things began to shift. And I literally remember saying, you know what? I'm not going to blame anybody for anything else anymore, because to blame makes me lame. I'm not going to whine. I'm not going to complain. I'm not going to have pity parties anymore. I'm going to take radical responsibility for everything that's happening in my life. And let me tell you something. That's when things really begin to shift. Now, each and every day that I wake up, I make the intentional decision to be an optimist, especially when I'm facing or trying to figure out these obstacles that are before me. I automatically have programmed my mind to say, you know what? We're going to be optimistic. We're going to search for the silver lining. And instead of counting our stressings, we're going to count our blessings. And listen, let's be clear. Being an optimist doesn't mean that bad things don't happen to you. Being an optimist doesn't mean that things always go your way. No, I want to be really clear. Being an optimist simply means that you have a deep belief that the future is brighter and that this too shall pass. So remember this, that pain is inevitable. It's literally unavoidable in this life. But I got some good news. Suffering is optional. And here's a gem of a secret that I'll give you before I finish this particular communication. Your pain and whatever you may be going through right now, or maybe whatever you've gone through in the past that you never healed from or you never recovered from, I need you to hear this. Your pain has the potential to produce more growth than happiness ever could. So here's my message from me to you. Don't waste your pain. We live these lives on this planet and we accumulate, amass, and experience a great deal of pain. Please don't waste your pain. You say, well, PT, what do you want me to do with my pain? I'm so glad you asked. Parlay your pain into personal growth. Let it make you better. Let it make you wiser. Let it make you stronger. Let pain make you the beneficiary. Woo. That's good. Can I say that again? Let your pain make you the beneficiary. That's the way that you can take every loss, turn it into a lesson, and then leverage those lessons into blessings. Be encouraged. Know that you don't have to drown on the inside. And know that the truth of the matter is you don't have to suffer. That you can actually take that pain and turn it into something that gives you power. Don't give your power away. Don't operate as a victim. Understand that you are a champion and that you have been chosen for whatever battle you're facing, whatever race you're running, whatever trial or test you're experiencing. You got this. God wouldn't allow it in your life If he didn't know that you could handle it, you just need to be reminded that no weapon formed against you can prosper because God is with you. God bless you.